Good afternoon, everybody. I think we're ready to kick off on this session. Kia ora, namaste, greetings to you, and welcome to this session, which is focused on New Zealand. Thank you very much. Quite the activity outside, but apparently there's some Bollywood star who's out there. It's very important that we start in the right way this session, and that is to congratulate the Indian government on World Food India, and express to them that we have found this an amazing event, one that New Zealand is really very proud to be participating in. We are a partner country in this exercise. That means that we're one of two countries who have really committed into the endeavour. And we are very pleased indeed that we've done that, and we've been incredibly supported throughout by the Ministry of Food Processing Industries, by FICCI, by even the Minister himself, Minister Pashwan. So important that we just register our thanks to all of those people. The organisers of World Food India invited us to curate a session spotlighting New Zealand's strategic priorities, our innovation and leadership in global food processing systems, and we are delighted to take up that invitation. We welcome you, all of you, to this discussion, which has been given the title of Pioneering the Future of Food, Partnering with New Zealand on Innovation, Safety and Sustainability. Is my voice coming to the back of the room? You hear me clearly enough? Okay. My English is okay? This session ties in squarely with priorities that New Zealand has. New Zealand as a country, as a world-leading food producer, as an innovator, as an exporter. And it ties in very much with New Zealand's coming to India with an objective of finding partnership with India, and wanting to share and learn expertise in terms of building resilience, innovation, and discussing with you high-performing agriculture and food systems. Anyway, that's my first words of introduction. Can I say that the way that we're intending to run this session is, firstly, I will give each of the panelists the opportunity very briefly to introduce themselves, and then I will then make a few words of introduction, if you could kindly bear with me, about the status of the New Zealand relationship with India, and then get into a discussion in which I might ask a few questions of each of our distinguished panelists, and after that open up the floor for any questions that might be offered up by all of you today. So I hope that gives clarity about how we intend to conduct the session. And if you do have questions, they can be as technical and difficult as you want, because we've got experts here and I won't have to answer them, so I'll just throw them over to my colleagues, so just go for it. But with that, and I think that each of you has a microphone in front of you, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves, and I just say that I'm Patrick Rata. I'm the New Zealand High Commissioner here in India, and I serve together with other New Zealand agencies who are also present in New Delhi. But Vince, if I could ask you to start.
Thank you, Patrick. Good afternoon. My name is Vince Arbuckle. I work for the Government's Ministry for Primary Industries based in Wellington, and I'm responsible for the arm of the ministry that looks after food safety and suitability. You probably know of New Zealand as a green, distant country, blessed with a wonderful climate, lots of rain. We grow grass really well, and 85 to 90% of what we produce we export. But we're also a significant importer of food, surprisingly. We import from over 100 countries, and New Zealand's increasingly dependent on imports of food, both to complement our own production, sometimes as ingredients into what we re-export, or to meet the cultural and diverse appetite that New Zealanders now have for different foods. My area is responsible, as I said before, food safety, so absolute critical function to ensure that food from the farm to the fork, wherever the fork is around the world, is delivered safely and securely. But the second thing we're responsible for is suitability. And suitability simply means it is what you expect it to be. And increasingly consumers are looking for a whole range of other attributes beyond safety. So it may be there's a religious requirement, it may be a sustainability requirement, it may be an animal welfare requirement. They want to be able to trace the food, they want to know where it's come from. We're also deeply involved in the assurance process and providing consumers with assurance that that product meets, say, a halal requirement or a vegetarian requirement or an animal welfare requirement. So it's a great pleasure to be here today, and we're looking forward to spending some time together. Thank you.
Next one is Gavin Ross. Thanks, Gavin.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Gavin Ross. I am the Director of Customer and Commercial at the Plant and Food Research Group of the new Bioeconomy Science Institute. We're a very large and new organisation, new institute, formed from the merger of 4 former groups. And at 2,500 people, we are the largest research institute across really any field in New Zealand. And given our focus is on primary industries, we are perhaps one of the largest you'll find anywhere in the world. The spectrum of our research activities covers a wide range of different sectors in New Zealand, from horticulture to pastoral agriculture, from aquaculture and seafood research right through to forestry research. So a very broad remit and a broad responsibility for underpinning the future growth of our industries in New Zealand. In addition to the work we do inside our borders, we also have a very strong and successful team working on international projects. We have a portfolio that continues to build with projects in Southeast Asia and the Pacific. We have a history of a project that was completed in India, and we have other projects in other parts of the world, including the Caribbean, and we have some project history in Africa. So our broad range of activities. Our science activity spans many different disciplines of science, from fundamental research looking to discover the basis of certain changes inside a plant, right through plant breeding, through sustainability research, pest and disease research, sustainability research, as I said, and work we do directly with consumers, understanding consumer behaviour. So as you can see, a very broad remit and much activity that we work on and deliver for our industries. The success of our organisation is very much driven by the impact of our research and the impact that it has for the industries with which we work. And as we talk through the hour today, you'll hear more about that close connection between science and industry in our country. Thank you.
Kimberly Cruther.
Good afternoon. I'm Kimberly Cruther. I'm the Executive Director of the Dairy Companies Association of New Zealand. Our association has 11 dairy company members, including cooperatives. We're a 75% cooperative industry, something that we have in common with India. Those 11 dairy companies represent over 98% of the milk that is processed in New Zealand. That milk is 2% of global milk supply, so considerably less than India's. We produce around 10% of the milk production of India. We transform that 2% of global milk production into over 1,500 different products and product specifications that are exported to over 120 different countries globally. New Zealand exports 95% of the milk that we produce, and that reflects our favourable conditions for pastoral agriculture and also our very small population. I haven't calculated that as a percentage of India's, but I suspect it's got a 0 point in front of it. New Zealand dairy products, as they're exported globally, mostly as ingredient products. Our companies work with food manufacturers and food service providers globally, where they supply specialist ingredients that are part of a broader food value chain. We have an innovative industry that has pioneered many dairy innovations globally. We were the first country to produce whey protein concentrate, which I know is one of the food items that is in discussion in terms of being able to strongly contribute to India's wellness or diets for health and wellness, including as people age, maintaining good muscle mass as you age. In terms of why we are here, we think that both New Zealand and India are part of an industry with a very bright future globally. That's because we start with milk as a superfood that is in increasing demand globally for the nutrients that it provides and the role that it can play in diets. As an ingredients supplier, we think that there's a strong potential going forward for partnership between New Zealand and India.
Thank you, Himanshu.
Hi everyone, my name is Himanshu Arora. I'm pretty obviously from India. I represent the New Zealand kiwi fruit industry. We have over 2,500 growers that produce kiwi fruit, and all of that is sort of supplied, exported through us. I might be slightly biased, but it's probably the best kiwi fruit in the world. And if our team's done their job right, then you've probably heard of our brand. It's called Zespri. We sell 3 varieties around the world, the Sun Gold, the Green, and a Ruby Red, which we commercialized only a few years ago. We have been in India for close to 20 years. We partner with local partners. So we've got 3 distribution partners, and we sell across the country, focusing on the metros, but fruit flows across in thousands of general trade stores, the street vendors where most of our fruit is sold. We also partner with all the major key accounts. We work with the e-commerce industry. For context, the New Zealand kiwi fruit industry's acreage is about 16,000 hectares, and India is about 5,500 hectares. So we're growing kiwi fruit consumption in this country to also allow in the future for the Indian kiwi fruit industry, it's counter-seasonal to us, to sell more high-quality variety or high-quality produce for the period that New Zealand doesn't supply into India. So we have 12-month supply here, and we want to work. We're trying to work very closely with the Indian ecosystem from our point of view to develop the consumption and then help also the Indian kiwi fruit industry to grow better. So that's what we're here for. Thank you.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Karen Morris from New Zealand Apples and Pears. At New Zealand Apples and Pears, we're a levy-funded organisation, and we represent all of the apple and pear growers throughout New Zealand. We have about 11,000 hectares planted in the ground. We have 300 growers, so that gives an average of about 40 hectares per orchard. As an organisation, we play a central role in supporting our growers to enable them to export. And we also invest over half of our levy money into research and development. So we constantly strive to improve. We look at what we can grow better. We also provide support and services around biosecurity, compliance, labour mobility, training, and we work very closely alongside the New Zealand government to achieve what our growers want to achieve. We're also a majority shareholder in the New Zealand Apple and Pear Breeding Programme. And in terms of me personally, my background is 100% apples, And certainly I've also had some time representing New Zealand and Australasia on the Global Gap Board. So I've got a heavy leaning towards compliance.
Thank you very much. We've got a lot of experts at the table. I will just, if I may, spend 2 minutes just framing up the bilateral relationship. And after that, I'm going to invite each of the panellists to answer a question. And that question is generally going to allow them to speak to their expertise areas. But may I just say this, that New Zealand, over the last short period, has been making a very determined effort to broaden and to strengthen the bilateral relationship with India. And that effort takes place across a very broad front of topic areas and areas for collaboration. It is in the trade and the environment space, and that's largely the subject of our session today, but it's also about a relationship that's more closer in areas like defence and cooperation. It's in closer contacts in terms of people, in sport, in culture. It's seeing if our two countries can work together more closely in multilateral settings. So the nature of New Zealand's effort to lift up the bilateral relationship with India goes right across the board. One of those areas is trade and economics and business, and that's where we focus today. But I would also want to say that because we have this big effort to lift up the relationship, that's one of the key reasons that we have this pavilion here at the World Food India, why we have these experts here today, both as a demonstration of New Zealand's commitment to the bilateral relationship and as an effort on the part of New Zealand to see how those collaboration and to see how that collaboration and those cooperation activities can be taken forward. The main thing that we're looking for here is building up a partnership, looking for collaboration, looking for cooperation activities. One of the key things I might stress in terms of trade and economics is that New Zealand and India right now are in the process of negotiating a free trade agreement. And our negotiators are continuing in that work. All of us, the New Zealand side and the Indian side, have great ambitions for this negotiation to arrive at an outcome that's going to be mutually beneficial, and particularly that it will arrive at outcomes that will allow us and will facilitate the sorts of cooperation activities that the panellists are looking into in their respective areas. So, at least from the part of New Zealand, and I'm sure India as well, we're all looking for a good outcome in that one aspect of the wider bilateral effort. I think that's about 2.5 minutes, but there you have it. With that, I'm now, if I may, panellists, I'm going to invite them to speak to their expertise areas by just asking a facilitative question to each of you and then letting you take the conversation and the discussion where you want. And I'll start with Vince and in the area of food safety. And the question that I wanted to put to you, Vince, is that how does New Zealand's food safety balance innovation with regulation, and what lessons might we be able to share with India as it scales up its own food safety frameworks?
Patrick. Good question, Patrick. Thank you. A regulatory system in New Zealand, it's a comprehensive system that has grown over many, many years. And like any system, it can become rigid and inflexible. So the challenge that I think Patrick's referring to is how do you accommodate innovation, be that new foods, new expectations, new consumer preferences. And I think we have made successes so far, but there's more that we can do. We've recently changed our export requirements of industry to allow more flexibility where industry can meet the requirements of overseas governments but not have to meet the requirements of the domestic system itself. We've recently launched a new, what we call a grass-fed standard. What we found was consumers in a number of countries were wanting assurance that the product they were getting came from pasture-based raised animals. How would you know if it's a picture on the label or whatever? What we were finding was governments, companies, and consumers were increasingly asking for an assurance that that product is what it says it is and is grown in a pasture and raised on grass. So as a departure from our normal regulatory system, we established with our NZTE colleagues a standard for grass-fed agriculture. So many days on farm, eating the majority of cases grass, and then that provided that grower or that company can meet that standard, they get a stamp, an official assurance stamp that then can go all the way through to the consumer as an assurance as to the sustainability of that particular product, where it's come from. So it's probably an example of the regulatory system going to places where we haven't gone before. There's going to be more and more of that, particularly around welfare, animal welfare, and sustainability credentials. They're going to be called upon more and more as consumers expect more from producers and want to be assured by governments that the product is what it says it is. So hopefully that's a helpful statement. Thank you.
Thanks very much. What we're going to do is we're going to go through all of the speakers and then open up the floor for discussion. So just keep your questions for now if I can. Can I now just put a question to you, Gavin? Plant and food research plays a key role in agri-tech development, and perhaps you could talk to some of the recent breakthroughs and some of the collaborative projects that could be of interest here in India to Indian researchers and to producers.
Excuse me. Thank you, Patrick. So we're here today at a food industry convention, and you would have seen many wonderful food products out on display in the halls here. But we all know that there would not be a food industry were it not for farmers and growers of fruits and vegetables and other food products. It is critical that with technology and the innovation we deliver enables those farmers, those growers, to grow their product profitably and successfully. So what I want to do is talk about some of the work that we've done over many years around orchard productivity. Some of you would have been onto some orchards and may have seen what we would call older styles of orchards, which have very large trees. Those large trees may be well separated from each other. Those large trees would have had fruit at the top of the tree and towards the base of the tree. They would have fruit at the outside of a canopy and fruit well inside. So what that means is that there is variation in those fruit in terms of the environments they have experienced as the fruit has grown and matured. And that's not ideal for a grower who wants to pick all their product and have a uniform supply to deliver to market. Our research over many years has looked at a new design of orchard, and if you went into a modern high-tech orchard, you would see many, many trees planted very close to each other in rows that give the appearance of a grape vineyard. A wall of fruit and a wall of tree is there in a two-dimensional structure rather than what we would call see a three-dimensional structure in an older orchard. This is not unique to New Zealand, but what we're doing in plant and food research is continuing to advance that system through careful control of the canopy and establishment of apple trees with a particular design that further lifts productivity. We're lucky in New Zealand in that we have wonderful conditions for growing apples and other fruits. And so what we've been able to do, though, is take existing highly productive orchards and lift that yield even further. So whereas New Zealand's average apple yield, for example, is between, say, 80 and 100 tonnes per hectare, considerable lift could be made to upwards of 130, 140, 150 tonnes per hectare with this sort of technology. And I'm sure you can see the tremendous potential that would bring to similar orchards in a country such as this one. Relatively modest interventions, huge impact on yield, great benefits for growers. Thank you.
Thanks, Kimberly. The dairy sector is a cornerstone of New Zealand's food exports. And how is the industry adapting to global sustainability demands? And perhaps, like all speakers, if you could just talk also to the opportunities that you see for extending collaboration with India.
Yes, there's a lot that goes into producing high quality, safe and sustainable New Zealand dairy products. What we have found is that strong focus on outcomes, a strong focus on efficiency and maintaining flexibility to adapt and innovate has served us well. And being able to produce high quality products and being able to meet safety standards, but also in the sustainability space and journey. There are some things that we've invested in across the supply chain that have been driven originally from an efficiency perspective, but are also supporting sustainability outcomes today. One, and an example is New Zealand invented its own cow breed. So the Kiwi cross cows. We did not just settle for Holstein Friesians from Europe that suit European farming systems well, but we bred a breed of cows that suit our farming systems. They're smaller in stature, and by being smaller in stature, they have a high ratio of a high feed to milk conversion ratio. Now that's very good for the economics of our farming systems. It's also very good for the carbon footprint of our milk. Because with that higher milk feed to milk conversion ratio, it means that you have fewer emissions for every litre of milk that is produced. And the other part of sustainability for farming systems is that they're needing to have animals that are resilient to greater temperature fluctuations. Now, these smaller stature cows also deal well with heat tolerance. So that's an example there. We've found that investing in good disease management on farm and biosecurity is also a good outcome, because animal health supports farm efficiency, and then that supports a lower carbon footprint for the milk as well. In the manufacturing space, our companies are continuing to innovate. We're needing to change our energy mix to do so, and there are many different pathways that companies are taking to do that. We're also working with farmers, looking at how you maintain efficiency for your farm inputs, and that also results in farming with a lower footprint altogether. I think that there are many ways that we can cooperate with India in the sustainability journey that the dairy industry as a whole is on. We all need to develop more tools for moving forward, for reducing methane from cows, and a tool that is appropriate for a New Zealand system may also be appropriate for an Indian system. In the disease management challenges that we have and that India has as well for livestock diseases. There's much that we can share from our journey in successfully eradicating some diseases or preparing for others. So New Zealand has, we were up until 2017 one of the few countries in the world that didn't have Mycoplasma bovis, which impacts cows. And then it arrived on our shores, and we've invested in a program working alongside the New Zealand government to eradicate that disease. We're also now in a framework working with the New Zealand government to make sure that we are well prepared for foot and mouth disease responses. We're lucky as a country, we've never had foot and mouth disease, but if we if it does ever arrive, we want to be well prepared to respond. Now, those challenges that we have and the work that we are doing in that space, there's things that we can learn from India and that India can learn from us.
Thanks, Kimberly. But in India, as best I understand it, people generally know the name Kane Williams, and they generally know what zestfree means. I just wanted to say, you've had Zespri, the company's had success in Asia Pacific markets, and maybe you can share some of your insights about building up consumer trust and brand value in markets like India, and what perhaps New Zealand can share with India in terms of the Kiwi sector, and perhaps just also comment about the sorts of collaborative activities that you've been exploring with the community here as well.
Thanks, Patrick. Right, I'm a sales and marketing person, so we like to say that, yeah, all markets are unique, because it's true. So I guess the first step in success in developing any market, and India is not unique in that, would be listen and understand. All markets are different as far as the consumers are concerned. The route to market's different. Expectation of your partners could be different. So that's sort of what we've been doing for a very long time. And then once you learn and you understand, or you listen, you understand, you adapt. So we've done a few things that we've innovated for the specific market. The route to market model is quite unique. Some of you might know this, but this is the market where we've got most of the fruit that sells at street vendors. 85% of fresh produce in this country, whether it's the real premium kind or some of the more mainstream fruit, sells at street vendors. So that's very unique for us in the world of Zespri. We had to adapt to that route to market here. When that's 85% of the fruit goes through that chain, it goes to the wholesale, and then it kind of disappears. You have no idea what happens to the fruit thereafter. So we listened to our retail partners, the folks who were actually selling it in the market, and understood from them that the wholesalers and the brands didn't really work with them, didn't care for them. So we created a program to actually service and work with these front-end street vendors. Since 2019, we worked together with them. Started with a small program of 400 stores across 4 cities. It's become as big as 2,000 stores across 5 cities today, and we'll keep increasing that. So we've done that adaptation. We've adapted also in the way we sell the fruit. In many markets, we sell fruit loose. People want to touch, feel, try it, but where the conditions here don't permit that, especially for our very fragile, sensitive Sun Gold product. So we put that in a pack, and we put that in a double pack. That double pack allows for smaller quantities to be purchased by each retailer, so they can sell it. They buy only what they need for a day or 2 days, and they go back and buy more, and it allows for storage and fruit quality to be delivered to the consumer as well. And I think the biggest lesson we've learned here, particularly in India, is patience. It takes a really long time to get your model right. You make a few mistakes. And I think many corporates want to get quick results. I think we've been very patient. We've been here 18, 20 years. And still, we believe we're still scratching the surface. We're not a top 10 fruit in this country yet. In some of our top 10, 12 markets, we're the number 1 fruit brand. Far from it here currently, but we're in that journey as well. To the point around cooperation, so I think the part that the sales and marketing end of our business does is create the demand for kiwi fruit. It is a super nutritious fruit, and we know that that fruit grows here as well. Our account is seasonal to New Zealand, so to India. So when our season's done, there is an opportunity for local production to come and actually service the market. At this point, however, the production in this country is very low in terms of yields. The longest selling, the most commonly available fruit in this market is the green variety. The variety is called Hayward. It's been selling in this market for 18, 20 years. Sun Gold's more recent. And that Hayward variety in New Zealand, the average grower grows 30 tons a hectare. Over here, the average grower grows 3.5 tons a hectare. So what we want to work, and that's the proposal that we have with our colleagues at the Ministry of Agriculture, is to support the Indian growers to really lift those yields. We've got really good quality systems. We've worked with our growers to perfect the Hayward variety over 30 years. So we know a few things about how to grow that fruit well as well. So the opportunity to not only increase yields, but improve quality, and all of that leads to better returns for the growers. So there's more profitability. And one of the great things about that is most of the kiwi fruit that grows in India is grown in the northeast part, which unfortunately is slightly behind in the economic development as well. So there's a great opportunity as well for a cooperation to lift the returns for our growers, but also create other benefits in terms of employment, more investment in route to market, in supply chain, post-harvest facilities, things like that. So we have a brilliant opportunity ahead of us to work as both the countries come together to work on this opportunity to lift the sector, as it were, across India.
That you can achieve that. And if in New Zealand we've got the capabilities to produce at 30 tonnes relative to 3 tonnes, then maybe we've got some insights that we can share in that space. And from what you're saying, there's willingness to explore those sorts of partnerships. And I imagine a similar sort of story sits with you, Karen. And the question which is related to put to you is about New Zealand apples and pears and your very strong export story. And perhaps you could talk about the role that innovation plays in building and maintaining competitiveness. And like the other panelists, perhaps just speak to where you see opportunities for collaboration with Indian horticulture.
Thanks, Patrick. As Kimberly alluded to earlier, we're an incredibly small nation, so innovation for us is absolutely essential for us to be able to survive and thrive. It's important that we remain at the forefront of technology, and that for us also includes looking at what varietal choices that our consumers want, what growing systems, as Gavin talked about, what our productivity levels are, market access requirements, and all of those other challenges that evolve over time. We can't do that in isolation, and so we have to think quite laterally and innovate along the way. So innovation in its variety of forms has enabled our own industry to triple its revenue over a 10-year period, and that's from a relatively static planting base. So that just shows the weight of the innovation that we've been able to instill in our industry. But I would say it comes with caution because it's not easy. You know, it certainly requires a collective agreement. It requires capital investment, excellent relationships and partners. You know, we work heavily alongside research development, educational institution. Another thing that helps propel some of the innovation within our industry is having lofty goals, because that propels the momentum and it gives us the motivation for bigger and better ways of doing things. To partner with India on something like innovation, to me, it does make sense because it hasn't been easy. It has meant that the New Zealand industry has an absolute wealth of knowledge and experience from the trials and tribulations that comes with both rapid and incremental growth. Another probably important point is that innovation doesn't just mean digitisation. It doesn't just mean the latest or the greatest or the shiniest piece of technology. It's adaptation to the environment. It's the direction in which we plant our trees to maximise the changing weather patterns. It's how and when we harvest, and also it's how we maximise our quality and a yield with that 10 times factor that kiwi fruit are also experiencing between our two nations. It's also important to remember that partnership goes both ways, and I believe that whilst Indian growers will benefit from hearing how our own growers have developed over time, it's also an outstanding opportunity for the New Zealand growers to learn from India, their own challenges, their own solutions. As I see it, India has centuries-old entrepreneurship, and that is something that we can definitely learn from. Another one is climate change. As unpredictable as it is, I believe that Indian growers can show us back in New Zealand growing conditions and resolutions that we haven't yet experienced within our own environment. So I think it's most definitely a win-win both ways. Thank you.
Thanks to brilliant chairmanship on my part, we've got good time to open up the floor for questions to these experts. But first, just to say thank you very much for your comments, and I particularly like the fact that where we're looking for collaboration, it's not just a matter of New Zealand wanting to offer across, but we're wanting to learn as well. So thank you. Can I just now put it out to you? You can do a little bit of work. Can I invite you to ask any questions that you'd like from the comments that we've received? Please, you'll need a microphone. The rest of you get ready to put your questions up too.
Thank you, Patrick, for moderating an excellent session. Very insightful for me. I'm Sanjay Awasthi. I represent the International Organization for Migration, the UN Migration Agency. So my question would be slightly different from the focus we have had in this conversation. So keeping in mind the increasing flow of migrants in the India-New Zealand sector, the corridor, do we also visualize demand for skilled Indian professionals or migrants in this sector, either dairy or apple and pears or kiwi? Thank you.
Thanks. I want to see if we can get a couple of questions and then we'll put them through.
My question is to Mr. Himanshu. You just mentioned a surprising point that the total yield of kiwi in India per hectare is only about 3 tons compared to New Zealand. And you also mentioned that you've been in India for about 18 years. My question is, what exactly, if you could mention some points, the problems that you've been facing in making us learn, or probably what kind of problems you have been facing even after 18 years, that we are at this level compared to New Zealand. Thank you.
Thanks. We'll take one more.
Hi sir, my name is Samay Pal Singh. Thank you Patrick for a wonderful session. I want to discuss something which is about Manuka honey and very popular in New Zealand. We are trying last 1 year to bring to Indian market Manuka honey, but we don't find right channel for this. Can we develop some research center, because India is a good honey producing country for the world. So we want to have some collaboration and research on it. Second, my question is that can we have some exchange of entrepreneurs from India, agro entrepreneurs, to go to New Zealand and some collaboration on it? Thank you.
Thank you. Let me start a comment, then I'm just going to look across to see who might respond, one of which will be you. The point that I would want to start off, thanks for your question on migration. One of the interesting statistics from New Zealand is that in our country, 6% of our total population claim descent from India, and that's that's quite a significant proportion of our population. And as our Prime Minister said when he was here in March, they make significant contributions to our economy and to our business, and to the makeup of our society and our diversity. But even in our principal city, Auckland, that percentage goes up to something like 12%. So in our major city, there's a significant proportion of people who themselves claim back. Now, your question is around migration or mobility, and those are issues which involve conversations that have been ongoing for some time. Himanshu, there was a very specific question. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll go to you, Himanshu, first, and then if there's others on either of the other two questions, please do.
I'll just share one more slide, if I could, on the contributions of sort of Indian origin people in New Zealand to the economy point you already shared. But just again, for context, 10% of our kiwi fruit growers are Indian origin growers. 15% of our production of kiwi fruit in New Zealand comes from growers of Indian origin. So there's significant contribution from the Indian community in New Zealand already. To the gentleman's question about the yields in India after us being here for 18 years. You're there. Hi. We don't actually grow fruit in India so far. We don't. So it's not that we've been trying to grow fruit and the yields haven't gone up. It's an opportunity that's in front of us. We have the experience of working with growers in other countries for over 2 decades. We work with growers in Greece, in Italy, in France, in Japan, in Korea, and we've seen significant improvements in the productivity, in the quality of production, and the returns to growers across these places. So we're aware the opportunity exists here. Now, it's no one's case that once we are able to start to work with the growers here, we'll be able to bring it up to 30 tons in the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, because there's a lot of other factors. Now, I'm a sales and marketing guy, so I won't be able to tell you all of that, but I have very smart people who I work with, Steph, Gavin. I've learned a few words from them. I'll repeat them here. So growing systems, planting materials, soil, weather, historical ag practices, they take time to improve. If we took the exact same plant, took it out of New Zealand, put it here in the soil, in the right perfect conditions for kiwi fruit, it'll still have a different yield. And it'll take time. So just with that caveat, there is a huge opportunity for us to work together. And when we are able to, like we mentioned earlier, we have the desire to, our industry is behind it. We've gone to them time and time again. They understand the opportunity because it's a win-win for us. Zespri's New Zealand kiwi fruit industry's purpose is to help people, communities, and the environment thrive through the goodness of kiwi fruit. That's across the world. So there's an absolute opportunity. We're waiting with bated breaths for that opportunity to actually come to fruition.
Kimberly, were you wanting?
Yes, I was also just going to comment on the immigration, and like kiwi fruit, the Indian community in New Zealand is a big part of our dairy industry. We have benefited from their skills in our farm sector, but also in our processing sector. Just one story that about 2 years ago, 2 brothers won the New Zealand Farm Managers of the Year. They were Indian immigrants, and so moved to New Zealand, took up dairy farming in New Zealand, and have grown their careers to the point that they have now started a farm ownership journey in New Zealand as well. When I talked, and I'm glad you raised the skills labour point, when I talked about what we're trying to do within our farm systems and the importance of efficiency and working to outcomes and being flexible for innovation, all of that takes skilled labour to achieve. So we need more people with more skills within our industry. In the processing space, our second largest dairy company, the head of innovation for that company is again a gentleman who's an Indian immigrant to New Zealand, a skilled Indian food technologist contributing to our industry. So it really is two ways, I think.
Thank you. There was a question on Manuka honey, and there's expertise in the room, I think. Yep, thank you. I don't know if any of the colleagues here have any comment that they could share on that question, which I didn't quite catch myself.
I'll just give a very quick comment on that. I think the question was, is there opportunity with other sorts of honeys from other places? I would just comment that Manuka honey is a tremendous product with lots of wonderful benefits that we're seeing in the hands of consumers. From a science perspective, there is an awful lot we don't yet understand about Manuka honey, and let alone other honeys. So there's simply an enormous amount of science that can be done on the products we already have, and before we branch out to additional products.
We'll take some more questions. Well, I'll make a comment then. Oh no, we've got one. Please. It's going to be better than mine, for sure.
Hopefully. I'm not an immigrant. I didn't migrate to New Zealand, but I'm part of Kiwi dairy industry for last 30 years. I'm bringing that goodness of dairy to the world, now to India as well. So I just want to share that comment.
And with our biggest dairy company.
Yep, representing Fonterra. Thank you.
There's a question down the back there.
I'm Anant. I'm also from Fonterra in New Zealand, so I'm also an immigrant. I migrated there and have been quite successful there, so thanks so much for accepting me in New Zealand there. My comment perhaps was around the fact that in India perhaps we have a lot to learn around how we can manage the supply chain of the fruits, perhaps from Zespri. So how we actually efficiently ship our products overseas. I think we can learn a lot from New Zealand there.
Might just see if we can etch out one more question before we give it across to Himanshu, I think. Firstly, thank you very much for your kind comment in the dairy side. Himanshu?
So just a quick remark to that. Yeah, there is, it's part of the conversation here as well to not only grow better, to grow more and lift the yields, but the returns come when the fruit's sold. At this point, most of the kiwi fruit that's grown probably doesn't go as further than 50, 100 kilometers from where it grows. And those are maybe not the most lucrative markets in India currently. So there is that opportunity. It's part of the conversation that we have to evaluate the supply chain. There's a lot of expertise where it comes to post-harvest in New Zealand. In supply chain, we ship from New Zealand, which is one end of the world, to 50 countries, and that fruit is picked and packed and stored for up to 6-7 months. So there is an opportunity again to extend the shelf life of the produce that's grown here. But at this point where it stands, whatever we can produce, I imagine the Indian growers can produce over the next, I want to say 5-10 years, will not need to be stored that long. It'll get quickly consumed because of the millions of dollars that we've invested in the country already in lifting the consumer demand for it.
Thank you. Last chance for... it's coming at me now. Okay, Nitin, please, first. And you're second, Nitin. Down you go.
Hi, everyone. I would like to have one question, and it is very offbeat. I feel it is not meant for this session, but I think I should ask it anyways. As the world moves towards AI-driven economies and sustainable technologies, what role can India and New Zealand Innovation Partnership play, setting global benchmarks rather than just following the existing paths?
Well, I'm not answering that, that's for sure. But I might open that across to the panel, but perhaps Vince, as a first responder on that question.
Certainly. Look, AI is just transforming our lives, isn't it? From home to work, and the horizon and what that will mean in the future, we don't know really. But you're already seeing some amazing things on farms, the use of AI for animal health purposes, yield purposes. As regulators, we're seeing AI speed up our processes, our ability to harness insights from across the world, to join up experts. So the potential for AI to accelerate and support the agricultural sector is enormous. The one thing that is encouraging though, I don't think AI will ever grow products, so that it'll still require human contact, human beings. So the AI will aid us, but not take over from the human involvement in food production.
Kimberly?
I have an example of an existing collaboration, a partnership, and that is where in New Zealand for collecting the milk. So the milk needs to get to the factory every day, and some days there's 100 million litres of milk that needs to get to the factory every day on a diverse range of farms, and we want to have the most efficient routes to collect that milk to optimise the space in the milk tankers. And it's not necessarily the same route that you would take for that tanker every day, because the cows, the farm's milk production can vary. An Indian company has worked with, and there's a lot of artificial intelligence that goes into factoring out this logistical complexity. There is an Indian company that has worked with a couple New Zealand dairy companies to improve their milk collection scheduling systems and mapping systems. It's a really great example of where Indian expertise in that information management technology AI space has improved the efficiency of our dairy industry.
I imagine that this time next year it'll probably be the subject of an entire World Food India or a summit. Nitin, please.
It's almost similar to the lady, ma'am. You asked a similar question. So New Zealand is globally recognized for its high standard of food in terms of innovation, safety, sustainability, and we are in India. How can India and New Zealand collaborate? So then we not just create products for India, but also create for the world. So India becomes a producing hub, and both of us can come together and create products for the world. What has happened is I can see that in last 12 years of my existence with this company, this is the right time where the environment for co-collaboration is really, really nice. And thanks to you, Mr. Rata, for creating the nice platform for the FTA, which India and New Zealand is going to be signing soon. So I find this environment very, very collaborative, positive for creating benchmarks for the world. So what can we do to come together and create something which India benefits, New Zealand gives expertise, and also the world benefits out of this collaboration?
Thank you. I'm going to throw it across to anyone who wants to respond. Thank you, Nitin. It's a sort of nice wrap-up question, to be honest. And it ties in, I think, to the comment I was saying about what Prime Minister Modi has been saying about his desire that India should be a food basket to the world. If you're going to achieve that, what are the sorts of things that India needs to do, and how can New Zealand tie in and become a partner in India's journey, a partner in India's ambition? So I'm just helping out the question. The answers are going to come from colleagues, if any of you have a comment to make.
I will make a comment. I don't want to hog the talking stick though. But I talked about New Zealand producing tailored dairy ingredients. The model that we pursue globally is to work with food manufacturers in other countries where we can provide part of the solution, either for complementing their local supply in a country for a domestic population or for them to export. And that's a collaborative model where we can bring our dairy science expertise and our IP for producing what becomes only a component part of a much greater value chain, and will be, as I said, the world is very hungry for high quality dairy products for the nutritional benefits, and that they can play in multiple food formats and solutions. And I think that there really is a strong opportunity for New Zealand companies to be working with Indian companies in growing that supply through an integrated value chain.
I guess probably the other point that I would make to that is the counter-seasonal nature of apples and kiwi fruit with India and New Zealand is that assistance in growing those yields mean that an export market can absolutely thrive. You know, there's that kind of thing to make India the powerhouse, and that global fruit basket, I think, is a great opportunity.
Thank you. I think the time has run out for us, and I would make two comments by way of wrapping up. The first, Nitin, again, thank you very much. I'll make three comments. Firstly, to both of you, I do think that within a year or so, all of the conferences and summits throughout many parts of the world will really be focused on harnessing of AI and its potential and mitigating some of the risks that might sit over there. It's an interesting question. It's a year ahead of its time, for me anyway. Thank you very much for that. Nitin, your comment about the progress on FTA, thank you very much for that. I think I sort of touched on that topic already, but what I would just reiterate is that all of us are keen to see the outcome that our two countries' leaders have signalled when they met in March. And getting to good outcomes in the FTA negotiations are fundamental in terms of creating the platform for even closer economic, trade and business ties. So plenty of potential benefit from that, but also fundamental to the opportunities that we in New Zealand and India towards New Zealand want to take in terms of building up partnerships, looking for collaborative activities, looking for collaborations. The third comment that I would like to make by wrapping up is simply to thank the panelists, the experts for coming along and bearing through the moderator. But really, this has been an opportunity where we kind of wanted to showcase New Zealand and some of the expertise that we hold, some of the expertise that we want to share with India, some of the partnerships that we want to develop up with India, and some of the things that we're looking to India for in terms of insights that we can garner from you. So thank you for the panel, and then finally thank you everybody for coming along today, and thank you for your support. I see many friends amongst us, and thank you for giving us the support. So thank you very much. Let's all applaud ourselves.
I would request our team to hand over.
Oh,
please.
Surprise, someone come and help me.
Token of appreciation and a gratitude from India. Thank you so much to be part of the World Food India. Happy to have you. Please. This goes to Mr. Vincent. Thank you so much. So I would request, thank you. Please. Mr. Gavin Ross, please take this, accept this. Ms. Kimberly. Thank you. Thanks again. Thanks to Mr. Himanshu Arora. Thank you so much. Please. And I would like to thank the Embassy of New Zealand in India, especially Mr. Liam. Thank you so much for coordinating, and thanks to all the speakers actually. His Excellency, thank you Mr. Rata sir. So I think I would request all the panelists for a group photo and then we can disperse. Thank you so much.